A guy I was speaking to at an integration circle, he mentioned he had a mystical experience where he encountered none other than Ganesh, the elephant god of Hinduism. After your journeys, how would you reflect on sort of the meaning of encountering, say, a particular form of a deity or something like that?
When we experience realities that are beyond us, or consciousness, dimensions of consciousness that are beyond our own, and when we're tapping into those qualities that are like infinite compassion and infinite intelligence and infinite creativity, these are qualities that we tend to associate historically with various deities. And it's not surprising that our mind would put together the qualities of the phenomenology of the experience with the qualities of the deities which we may or may have had exposure to intellectually. And sometimes we counter deities that we haven't, that are not part of our own personal lineage and may not have been part of our, they may not have been something even that we knew about. It comes completely out of left field, and yet it bears the form of a culture's form of this deity, like Ganesh or Jesus or Mary or the Prophet Muhammad or something like that. So my understanding of it is that when you are working or when you are engaging entities or forms that have this quality of an entity that is identifiable in our historical traditions, my sense is that we are engaging a collective thought form or a spiritual being that is wearing the clothes of a collective thought form. And by collective thought form, I mean, if you have millions and millions of devotees that meditate and pray and offer devotions to a particular deity form which has been identified in their scripture, which is painted in their culture, statuary is all of this form. If you have millions and millions and millions of beings over thousands of years in devotional attachment to these forms or devotional focus on these forms, I think it creates a certain structure in the collective psyche, a collective thought form. And I don't minimize those forms. I think they're extraordinarily powerful, including secular thought forms like greed, power, anger. Those are, very powerful in our system. So when we encounter the deity or a deity in a particular form, we are either encountering a spiritual principle which is beyond form, which is wearing the form of this collective garment, or we're experiencing the collective garment straight out in itself. Either way, the collective psyche is implicated. The collective psyche is part of our experience, which is all perfectly normal and perfectly well and good, I think. At the same time, I would hold out that it is possible to go beyond all collective thought forms and to go beyond human history in one's experience. And when one does, those forms tend to fade away. I know there's a lot of discussion of entities because particularly DMT and DMT derivatives often expose people to entities. And I'm not suggesting that those entities aren't real or the entities don't exist, but to me personally, and again, limitations, but personally, those entities reflect different levels of reality that as you go deeper, those levels, that kind of granular quality of lots of individual beings tends to yield to levels of reality which are less granular, fewer individual beings kind of constituting the population of those levels of reality and opening up into vast tracts of consciousness which are less individual, less entity-like. At least it is in my experience.
Yeah, that definitely seems to resonate in terms of it being sort of a matter of levels. And after seeing sort of where you go in those levels, it makes a lot more sense that at some point even those dissolve and become something different.